Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have Eric, Mitch, Ken, and myself. And Alex riding through.
It's a deal, right?
We just taking notes in minutes.
Right.
So the announcements are gonna be vacancy on the Environmental Advisory Committee. Pat mentioned it. He would like to see another woman, female.
Are we following the agenda here?
Yeah,
Yes,
over
Okay,
on the announcements.
okay,
number 4,
all right.
because we've been through 3 already. Okay. We
Yeah.
call these meetings to order, we pledge of allegiance. We're all,
Just
Four
checking,
presidents?
that's all.
so, anybody have any ideas? We can,
Well, there's a draft of a change to the ordinance. Did you put that together?
Yeah, that's what we talked about the last meeting, of allowing for alternate
Yeah.
members, because that would allow the township to maybe as many as 9 people, and then if somebody doesn't show up, they can step in, and that way they can participate. But if all 9, they can still discuss, they just can't vote.
would you like to
That
be
looks
on
good.
the
That looks good
advisory
to me.
committee?
Okay. But there is now a vacancy, Mitch, and so. the
Any
township
volunteers?
has- I think we may have gotten 1 person that expressed interest, but this is the first time we put that on a public agenda, so.
Okay.
We're kind of putting out there in the world, if anyone else is interested, maybe give them 2 weeks to submit their letters of interest, and then, for supervisors.
Great.
Should we talk it up privately amongst people we know, or would that be appropriate? I don't know.
Yeah, we need someone who's a good fit, show up to meetings, primary.
I just want to
Responsibility.
make sure that everybody in the public has a chance. And
Oh, yeah.
to volunteer if they want.
Yeah, and if they allow for alternate members, then we could potentially have as many as 3 additional people. So that'd be nice.
The minutes. July 2nd, 2025. We're gonna get a chance to go through these.
I move that we accept the minutes as presented.
Any seconds?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
I
All right,
Aye.
I have to abstain if I wasn't having some.
Yep, there's a note there that you weren't here.
Yeah.
Okay. And- Well, Pat's not here, so we don't have an EIC chairperson report. Old business, open farm event, Eric, on Sunday, August 3rd.
Yeah, the only thing that I suppose needed to discuss was, what was going in, write up,
Mhm.
right? So how do you wanna work that?
It's up to you. My recommendation are just, get a bunch of pictures and then just write a couple of sentences,
Okay,
not them too elaborate, but, just email me pictures after the event. I know one of the supervisors RSVP'd to be there, and everyone from the EAC is welcome, but.
there we go. Okay, so there's nothing that we need to do before then?
No.
And Pat's gonna help us write the, basically the review of the event, right?
Yep.
Right.
So we sent out where that is, where the address and.
Actually, Eric needs to provide that to us. So after the meeting, just write down your address and I'll email it to the EAC members.
Okay.
And then when you're ready to publicize it on your own, then
Yeah.
just put it up on social media so everybody else knows, but I'll send it internally to everybody else for now.
Okay. Cause I have it, I do have it posted already, so I can just use that.
We're good?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. How about, official map update recommendation? And that's this here,
Yep,
okay, so. This is to recommend to the supervisors, township supervisors, about instituting the biking path on the official map. It says the Environmental Advisory Council has discussed proposed updates to the official map, which was adopted in 2013, and that it has not been revised since. The council recommends preserving the existing features of that map while adding new elements, including a concept for bike lanes along PennDOT thoroughfares within the township, an overlay identifying environmentally sensitive areas, major road alignments, a potential community building, and the inclusion of Jeffrey's Ridge for consideration, and something else. That would be, I guess, this for the change in the
it's
order.
up to you if you wanna edit the letter,
Okay,
that was left, so that you guys could have discussion.
that's the overlay of the sensitive areas.
Mhm.
Should we hold it up?
Yeah, I mean,
So this way you'll get an idea of what we're talking about. Thank you.
so you have an overlay for environmentally sensitive areas.
That's the overlay.
Which is the overlay on that map.
That's the overlay that'll go on the official map.
Well, the official map is there, but the overlay is something on it, right?
No, it's not there yet.
Well, then it's not there, there's no overlay,
Right.
okay.
The recommendation is to add that overlay to the.
Okay, now I understand, all right.
Okay.
I have a question. Um, When you put the recommendations for sidewalks and bike paths and whatever.
Yep.
Do those become by the definition of, I guess, the ordinance? Reserved areas?
That's something that this township supervisors are gonna take under consideration.
Because if they do, that means that every piece of property that would be along that line, if it was sold, the township would have the option of taking that property, either buying it, right?
Right, I think that
So, I
what,
mean, it's,
but the letter says that with the bike paths, bike lanes along. The walking path and the bike lanes along PennDOT thoroughfares. So we're talking about the roads themselves.
Yeah, I believe that.
I don't know, if it's,
I mean, I think
You're
by,
talking-
I think by line, the township and PennDOT are 30 feet from the yellow line anyway, or something like that.
so there's enough room there for a 20-foot bike lane?
Yeah, because.
I would question that.
But are
But
we talking about public land or private land here? I mean, this is strips of land along roadsides, right? So who owns those? That's
Public land, because they're talking about the recommendation is along PennDOT thoroughfares within the township.
So PennDOT, those thoroughfares are public, basically, land, correct?
There's right of ways.
Depends
I mean,
how wide
they're
they-
private
Oh, that's
land,
what I'm
there's right
asking.
of ways
I'm not
on them
aware.
typically. Right, it's private land, you own the land, but if there's any public improvements that PennDOT wants, or in the case of the township, if they have township roads, you know, the right of way is. Not, they can go in and do what they need to if it's in the public interest, you know, swales, things like
So
that.
they already have that authority to do that, correct?
Yeah, to an extent,
Okay,
Well, take Mount Nebo Road as an example, since you've got your property that fronts right to it, right?
yeah,
Okay. And we put a bike path there. or we put a walking path, which is very much needed because I saw a woman almost get hit by a car there today. Is that gonna take your property or does PennDOT own 20 feet into your property?
Are you asking me or telling me or what?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Well,
I'm just raising the question.
that's gonna be, that requires a lot, okay, because there is a 10-foot easement along all those properties that go up Mount Nebo. Same thing in our development, there's a 10-foot easement that the township has a right of way of using if they want to improve on it. So if they want to widen the road or they want to put a sidewalk, so they have that easement there, it's in the deed. If you look at your deed, you'll see there's a 10-foot easement from the road.
Is that on 10 feet each? Because the bike, if it's a bike path, what I read was it'd be a 20-foot wide bike path. If it's a walking path, it'd be 10 foot.
And that's the 10-foot right there. So it wouldn't be a biking path, it would be a sidewalk.
You asked about a sidewalk, you didn't ask about a bike path, so there's a difference, correct?
Yes,
Well, I mean, it's both because both.
Well, it's not both.
It can't be both.
It's not both.
it can be both. It could be a walking path, but it can't be a bike path. Along PennDOT, it would make sense because there's enough road. They have enough of an easement on the
And
road.
I'm just raising the question about both of those things and how they get.
But that's my understanding, okay, is that there's a 10-foot easement along the road for the township if they wanted to put a walking path. Because if you look at your deed, if you look at your survey, if you still have your survey, you'll see there's a 10-foot easement along the road in the development. Because the township controls our roads.
Yeah.
Okay, so they have that 10-foot easement on each side for a sidewalk.
And some of the overlay includes bike paths and some of it includes.
No, because what we're talking about is, we're not going into any private road, we're talking about, this would be only along the PennDOT thoroughfare. That's what the recommendation is. Okay, so that's why everybody's getting nervous that it's gonna be on their property when it's actually. We're asking the town supervisors to consider adding this path, this bike walking path along the PennDOT thoroughfares, which runs from 447 to 209, 209 to 209, and then from 209, 447, 447, 209, all the way up to connect to business 209. Because yeah, the 209 is the bypass, right, which comes off of exit 309.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you have the business 209, which is the one by Weiss Supermarket, runs along Marshall's Creek. It's across Marshall's Creek.
Yeah, so in the letter, James, the point is that this, instead of just saying, hey, supervisors, update the official map, it's sort of, hey, supervisors, here's some of the things we've thought about.
Correct.
Maybe here are some things you might want to consider. This isn't necessarily set in stone or what they'll decide, but at least it gives them.
I get that.
Yeah,
because that's
why.
that's why we're
Try
saying,
not to read too much into it.
no, because it said the council recommends preserving,
Yeah.
okay?
Just try not to read too much into all the nitty gritty details, whether it's 10 feet or 20 feet is what I'm trying to say. And then the environmentally sensitive areas.
We don't have Moses.
Right, but the environmentally sensitive areas, again, this is just an idea,
Right.
whether or not you can actually put that on the official map remains to be. Hashed out in a conversation with the county, who's the expert on this thing. You know what I mean? So this is really just kind of like hey, here's
But
some.
it's according to the ordinance, it does say that we can,
The fact sheet mentioned environmentally sensitive areas, which is why we put it on there, but if you look at the ordinance. I wasn't able to find anywhere that indicated a provision for that, so again, it's just,
what, for bike paths?
we don't have to figure out at this meeting whether.
The actual, what was it, chapter 30?
For the environmentally sensitive areas, we don't have to figure out this meeting.
Oh, you mean for that, for the
Yeah.
overlay?
Right, but we don't need to know 100% whether or not it can go on the official map or not at this meeting. This is merely
A
a
recommendation,
recommendation.
right,
Or another way to look at it, this is just an introduction
Yeah.
for the supervisors to the idea. It's not
Exactly.
going beyond just the general idea.
Right.
It's an
Exactly.
introduction.
Then there's a whole bunch of
Correct.
details.
Yeah, we don't need to fuss around with
Right.
details, that's down the road for
Right.
us or the supervisors.
exactly, all right.
I simplified the letter a bit as well in that sense. So it's up to you all, if you feel satisfied enough to make the recommendation. Then the supervisors can discuss it at some point and decide, whether they'll put this on their priority list, potentially. Probably isn't gonna happen this year because there's so many other things we're working on, but for potentially for 2026. It can be one of the projects the township works on.
Like Rome wasn't built in a day.
I
Exactly.
just wanna add maybe a clarification to the first paragraph.
Yeah.
Because the last phrase after that semicolon says, and the inclusion of Jeffrey's Ridge for consideration. So the word, when you say for consideration, you mean the whole paragraph and not just Jeffrey's Ridge. Am I correct
Um,
or not?
I think consideration is the way the official map.
But does the consideration part refer to the whole paragraph or just Jeffrey's Ridge?
I believe it's Joffrey's Ridge, that
Okay.
property. Consideration is kind of how they reference desirable parks or things like
Okay.
that. Now also keep in mind Buttermilk Falls and Twin Falls is also on there.
Yeah,
So those would be new things added to the map. There are already other properties, like one of the properties next to Mount Nebo Park is.
yeah, we've discussed that earlier, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I can edit the wording a little bit to maybe make it a little more clear.
Yeah, I was just a little bit confused on
I
that.
agree.
Okay, all righty. I'm good with it otherwise.
I make a motion that we send this recommendation to township supervisors for
I'll second. I'll second.
second. Any discussion?
Okay.
Eric? All in favor?
I,
Can I ask one question about this, chapter 30, I guess this is the ordinance that,
References to none.
covers everything in the official map. All of the concerns that we read about from the meeting, from the people who own property that is, quote, reserved. The way I read that was that they were concerned that if they wanted to sell the property and the township or build something on the property and the township either approved it or passed on buying that property, that property would still stay as reserved on the official map. But when I read the ordinance, it sounded like if the township passes on the reserved property and it's sold, that's voided and it's off the official map. Is that the right understanding?
I gotta look at it again.
But I seem to remember reading they were gonna get back to him on that question, but somebody had asked that.
I think they're talking about
It's a good question.
if
It was asked.
the way I understood it was that if they decided that something wasn't supposed to, it was a zoning concern that was encroached. And they could come in and take that out if they needed to, but it wouldn't, they still have, the owners still have, maintain their property rights if it's not something that's had to do with something that had to do with zoning. In other words, if somebody built something that was already marked, that couldn't be. But that had to do with the zoning. I have to look at it because I read that and I said, oh,
Yeah,
okay, because I think that's what people were concerned about.
Right.
Okay, but it would, the way I read it, it had nothing to do with the township coming in and telling someone that they couldn't do something with their property. If they did something and they went over setbacks or anything like that, then the township could come in. That's what it's talking about.
Let's just say I have a reserved piece of property and I wanna sell it. And I have a buyer
That's something that you have to talk to in a,
and the supervisors say the township is not interested in it. Go ahead and sell it. Now, does that stay reserved on the official map? Because if the person buying that knows that, he can't do anything with that property until,
that's,
it's worth noting that, so the official map was adopted in 2013.
right,
So some of those properties that were identified by the supervisors in 2013 got sold. And everything was fine. It's been in place for over 10 years and there hasn't been any controversy.
so
So,
they're still reserved?
well, they're still on the official map and that's actually a question that I had. It's like, it's been there for 10 years, like there was all that controversy.
it changed owners.
And
between
there
10
were,
owners.
yeah, there's properties that change owners, there's all sorts of things that have happened in the last, over 10 years. And I don't know of any issues that have occurred because of the adoption of the official map.
That's the way I understood it. The thing is that designation still stays because over in the years or in the future, it may happen,
Yeah.
okay, but it doesn't stop you from selling. Because that's,
Evidently not, because those properties have been sold, so clearly.
No, but it stopped me from buying.
Well, I mean, clearly not, because
Buying
those
what?
properties were
Why would
sold.
I wanna buy a piece of property that I can't do anything with until the supervisors either approve it? Or they can take that property if they
that's
want.
that's not the way it's written. I don't think that's the way it's written. But that's something.
Well, that's the question.
Okay, I don't
That's
think,
the question.
that's not the way I read it, okay?
I think there's legal questions. Mitch is
Right.
raising good questions.
But they're legal.
I have my own questions about like, okay, so there was all this controversy, the thing got adopted, there were a number of properties identified. A number of them have changed hands, a number of them were sold, they had no problem selling, the new owners are in. And yet, everything was okay, no problems, no controversy, no taking, everything was okay, so. It might be a conversation the township has with their solicitor as to like, this ordinance, like, and that's what this recommendation is, just get the conversation going, it's just. Hey, here's an idea, let's have a conversation, because I think Mitch is raising good points, I think I raised a point, James raised some good points about zoning,
Let me throw this at you then. Should we maybe ask Ron what he thinks? Because he is the town solicitor, right?
Yeah, I would imagine the supervisors might have a conversation with him about this, to try to get a better idea of.
So can we add that to the recommendation, so we can have a little bit of clarity on it?
Well, I would think the supervisor would want to know this, and
Yeah.
that's where this recommendation is going that we've already approved.
Yeah, it might end up being, I mean, I can't speak for the supervisors, but they might end up, asking their solicitor some of these things. And that, so. And when Robert gets back, he can talk to you all about it too. So, and I'll certainly, if I have the opportunity, I'll note that and see what they say.
Okay,
But
good, moving right along there. Alrighty. So we're gonna, new businesses. Environmental Advisory Council ordinance. And that's. We're looking for, there's subsection 28, 103, membership. Ordinance 179, 912, 2006. So this would be an amendment. The number one, the Environmental Advisory Council shall be composed of 7 residents of Smithfield Township, who shall be appointed by the Board of Supervisors. Number 2,
I can chime in on that one. There's a reason I made it red, is
Yeah.
because the township is curious whether or not 7 is too many. Do we have too many members? Is 7 a crowd, and maybe you want to reduce it to 5? And then have 2 alternates. We had some feedback,
Then
someone,
a quorum would be 3.
yeah, with 5, yeah, it's a majority. So that way, at least, there could be more concentrated discussion as opposed to more diffuse discussion. It's really a question of what the group thinks. I just
Okay.
wanted to bring that up, since there had been some,
that's a very interesting point.
yeah,
Because, yes, because digression is a big factor.
I think when you talk about that, you have to bring into consideration the sunshine law.
Mhm.
Because if it was reduced to 5. And then a quorum was 3,
Mhm.
okay? 3 of the members could not get together and talk about a topic without, I mean, you couldn't have a subcommittee without having a public meeting. Because of the sunshine law as well.
Well, you could still have, to an extent, you're right. I hear what you're saying, and yes, you have to be careful with a smaller group. You have to be increasingly careful, but the subcommittees would just have to be no more than 2, maybe a member of the staff, maybe a member of the public. They can certainly still happen. And then any 2 of you can discuss things, but yes, if you 3 want to grab coffee and you start discussing anything other than the coffee, then yes, that'd be a problem.
Right.
Right, and that's a good point.
How do the 3 supervisors handle a quorum?
No, 2 of them can't get together
It's okay,
and,
so
yeah,
they
to,
have
like,
all
stay.
3 be in this, probably in the same room,
Right.
talking about anything, right?
Well, the 2 of them is essentially 2 of them is the township.
Yeah, I'm saying that's
Yeah.
a quorum, right?
So any 2 cannot necessarily meet and discuss anything agency related.
This is interesting, but why did this discussion come about?
We had gotten a comment from a member of the public who suggested that the number may be a bit large. So it's just something I wanted to float out there and see what the group felt. Your planning commission is 7.
Right.
And, I've seen other planning commissions where they're 5, I've seen other planning commissions where they're 9. Once you start getting 9 people, that's quite a bit. But it's just something to put out there. No change, it's up to you. I don't personally have a position on it.
Well, I think we've been working pretty well with 7 so far. And if we had 2 more alternates, that makes it 9. So I think that's no reason why we should change what we're doing now. So I would go with the 7 and 2 for myself.
I think that the supervisors are also asking us to be more specific in what we take on. And to make it actionable and get it done. That means that as individuals of this group, I think we're probably gonna have to do more stuff. And if we have to do more stuff, I think it's better to have 7 people than it is to have 5.
Well, it makes it easier to break down into subcommittees if we have to, because we can't all 7 tackle, an issue that takes people to visit someplace, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yes.
Looks like they're just
So
here listening, they're just kind of,
so the concern is that, 2 many chefs spoil the pot, or we're not. I'm getting that somebody's giving the sense that we're not organized or we're not focused. Is that Is that the question?
I don't think so. I think
think so
perhaps
either.
it's just maybe a little, typically a smaller group is just more concentrated and each member has more influence, right? So if there's 5 members, then each member has proportionally more influence over the discussion. A group of 9, even less. And then you get too big, it becomes almost like a herd thing. So, but these are complex social dynamics that may or may not have any influence on the substance of the discussion, so.
Well, another thing is, just because one person comes here to our public meeting and makes a suggestion, doesn't mean we have to drop everything and take
No,
it.
of course not.
No, I mean, we can consider it, which we have.
So you're
I think I already said.
We
that
say
we
the
did.
same.
So, yes,
Eric,
that's my suggestion.
say the same. Mitch?
I like 7.
Okay,
doubt
I
if we'll
agree
get-
also with everyone.
I
7.
doubt if we'll get disagreements from the absent votes.
Okay. Okay, and then the Board of Supervisors shall fill all vacancies. 1 member shall be a member of the Township Planning Commission, that's me. That one is, okay, members shall be from any different regions of Smithfield Township as possible. And represent various interests of the township, okay? Number 5, the Board of Supervisors may appoint additional members of the. Well, that was, you struck that with red. The non-voting. Board of Supervisors may appoint additional members of the Environmental Advisory Council to be known as alternate members for such terms as the Board of Supervisors so designate. If a council member is absent or a quorum is not reached, the alternate members of the council will sit on the councils that may be needed to provide a quorum. An alternate shall be entitled to participate in all discussions of the council to the same and full extent as provided by law for council members. An alternate may also have the right to cast a vote as a voting member during meetings where the full 7-member council is not otherwise present. How does that work exactly? Because in order to get someone to come to sit, just like an alternate juror, it's not obligatory here. It's
This is just an option for us to be able to potentially go for.
Yeah, it's an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just gives us the option to have 2 alternates. Having the option and not finding them, maybe that's the case, but better to have the option.
what do you think, Mitch? Mitch, what do you think?
As far as how would it work?
Well,
I would almost think that the alternates would have to attend the meetings,
of course,
whether we had a quorum or not, and they would have to be as knowledgeable as the rest of us are about what's going on. If they're gonna jump in at some point and sit down and vote.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you have somebody that agrees to be an alternate, they're implicitly agreeing that they're going to attend these meetings.
Correct, I agree.
Would you have to put a provision in if you're absent for 2 or 3 consecutive meetings, then you're disinvited, so to speak? Because I've seen that procedure used in organizations before.
There's always that non-feasance term that townships use, that if somebody doesn't show up for,
So that's kind of built in.
discretionary. We don't have it written in the ordinance,
Yeah.
but,
Well, the reason I raise that is because, if you don't have a vote, and you don't feel like going, you just might not show up, there's not that much incentive, that's what I'm saying.
right.
just like Eric said, it's just an option. You currently have an option where they wouldn't even, they would just be a non-voting member, whether or not you have a quorum or not. So at least this empowers them to participate and vote and have a more meaningful interaction than what is currently written. So it's a slight incremental improvement over the current text is my feeling. I mean, not the most I mean, if we have people that are that passionate about Smithfield Township and they really, really want to do this, regardless of whether or not they have a vote or not, I think that's really a luxury, and we may not get that, but if we do, then that's wonderful, you know?
I don't see any reason not to go with this. I mean, we're gonna just try it. It's harmless, no matter what.
Try it if it doesn't work.
Yeah, stand it or forget it.
So we have a,
I move that we accept, the, ordinance, proposal as written.
with the 7. plus
Yeah,
the
with
alternate.
the seven and two alternates, provision.
Okay. Any second?
Second, yeah.
All those in favor?
I,
Upcoming topics for environmental advisory council assessments. Anybody have any ideas?
I think we should kind of table this till we have more people here.
Supervisor Lovenheim will likely be back for the next meeting. I know he's traveling today, so that's a good point. Maybe Supervisor Lovenheim, because I know he's led the discussions of some of these things before, so.
Yeah, and Pat's not here.
Pat obviously, yeah, goes
And
without.
she's our leader, so to speak. Not that you didn't do a great job, but.
Well, along these lines, I wanted to ask, have we had any feedback from the article that was included in the township?
Well, hold on a second.
So
So
we're
we're gonna,
jumping ahead here.
yeah, so we have a motion to table this.
I would table it, yes.
We second. Okay, a second. All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Alrighty. Go ahead, Mitch.
Oh,
Mitch,
we hadn't voted on A.
yes, we did.
yeah, we did.
Yes, we did.
Okay.
You voted in favor.
Okay.
Now
Okay. Now we tabled B.
Yeah,
Okay, now we're into,
yeah, so
You had your
that's my
comments.
question, you know, we put some things in there, if you're interested in environmental issues, please let us know. I'm just curious as to what kind of feedback, if any, we have had from anybody. I mean, the only place that would come in is either somebody calls into the supervisors, right? Or reaches out to one of us. I haven't heard anything.
Well, it hasn't been out there real long, it just,
No, I know.
I just have to put it in the next one too, I just have to repeat it.
Right.
And you know, how many people actually go online to read the thing? Probably not very many.
Not very many.
No, right not.
any public comments?
I have a comment before the public comment, if I may.
Sure.
Okay, it's sort of a question. I raised this at the last meeting. And it really is not really a business question. But along Mount Nebo Road and other places in the township, I've noticed these dying shrubs along Mount Nebo Road. And they're just go on, and I'm wondering what's killed these things. They're not blooming, they're dying at the roots. And I'm wondering, I don't know what species these shrubs are, but they're just going.
It's almost like they were poisoned.
Exactly.
And is it a certain type of?
Mother Nature, because all the others are still there.
So
So,
what is it? Is it some kind of blight?
hold
that-
on.
No, I think they were sprayed by, whoever maintains the, S1. They go underneath the wires, cause we live on Mount Eagle too. And, I saw that and it's only a certain part
Right.
that they get these. They're not trees, they're like big
Is there a
shrubs.
shrub or something?
Yeah, they just get sprayed by S1s, not in the way.
Well, I just wonder if that's an invasive species that we don't want around here anyway, or what the heck?
I don't
is
think they care.
Okay,
They just spray them.
well, somebody doesn't care.
It stands out. I mean, it raises a question when you drive up the road.
Most likely,
What
like
killed
say-
everything?
most
Yeah,
likely.
okay, so it's human intervention and not some, natural blight problem.
Which makes you wonder, who's the invasive species?
Well, then, isn't that sort of what we're here to do, to protect the environment, and here we got somebody spraying and killing these things, you know?
Well, we live on Ace Lane, which is at Walk
Yeah, I
Mountain
know
Road.
it, yeah,
And, years ago, we've been here, what, almost 40 years
yeah.
now? And, they used to come down the lane and spray, we had these beautiful blackberry bushes. And actually, at the time, I was so naive, I didn't really think about it. Well, they're all gone, they've been gone for years now. And now that I think about it, I should have questioned it at the time.
Well, just something to think about, I guess.
Yeah, maybe we can get some more information, it's something worth asking, we should make a note, find out, you know,
Right.
who's spraying what and where and why. Because they're certainly not allowed to do it at our farm, and it hasn't happened, but my father lives in Middle Smithfield Township, on the Columbia pipeline. And he got a notice that they were gonna spray. He is a new beekeeper. He wrote in, said, absolutely not. You've been mowing and taking care of the pipeline for 40 years that he's lived there. And now the new directive was that they were gonna spray. And he said, our family owns 7 properties, you know, and everybody has bees and children, and absolutely not. And they came back and said, okay, we're not gonna do it. But it took someone writing that email and complaining.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it would be good to know who's doing what, and why, because certainly it's the easy way to take care of, shrubs and anything any vegetation, but it's not the way that most people are comfortable with.
It's the thing about those sprays, and I've witnessed this, if you spray, what comes back is even worse.
You're talking about some other species coming in and taking over that space.
Yeah, something develops that's even worse, that becomes, I guess, immune to, that spray. Because it's even harder to get rid of. So you're right, it's not a good idea to be spraying. There are other ways to.
Would be interesting to know.
Yeah, I made a note to try to reach out to those in the know to find out, what exactly it is they're spraying
And why, where, yeah.
and why.
Something that the Environmental Advisory Council would be probably praised for giving some notification to the public about, so.
Maybe we could use our environmental complaint form to get an answer.
That's a good idea.
Sure, okay.
Here you go. Make one tomorrow.
There you go.
I think I have a copy of one.
Any comments?
Yeah, I have a comment I wanted to talk about the 4th of July and the fireworks.
Yes.
So I know that, it's kind of a problem with the noise. And I knew the 1836 saloon was going to have fireworks open. So around 8:45, it started in earnest, the fireworks, and I knew it was coming from the saloon, and so, but it was going on and on and on, and then I realized after a while it had to be more than just the saloon. And because I was hearing noise from various areas. So I did find out later that Alaska Pete's was also firing fireworks. And well, for one thing, I was a little unhappy with the fact that some of these small businesses are having fireworks. And I don't know, what are your feelings about that?
Is there a requirement for permits for those things, Alex, you know?
I believe there's a resolution somewhere in the code of ordinances that addresses fireworks. The only other thing that I know of off the top of my head, James, is that the parks will soon be prohibiting fireworks, like officially being launched in them. So you can't just pull up to any of our parks and launch fireworks. I was recently at Big Pocono State Park, and when you pull up there, you can see the game lands parking lot, there's a bunch of fireworks. So that sort of activity would be formally prohibited.
Shawnee Mountain had a big fire,
But that
on
was,
Fridays.
but that wasn't on the 4th of July.
Yes.
Was it on the
Yes.
4th of July?
Correct.
Oh, all right, because I thought it was on the
They
Thursday,
usually have it on the 3rd at Shawnee.
They had it.
unless they had it twice.
Shawnee Mountain was on July 3rd.
Oh,
Right,
okay.
on Thursday, that's right.
All right, so this was on the 4th of July that I was hearing all this noise. And, well, I also want to mention that there was someone who went by the saloon that night when they were firing, and they were firing actually in the parking lot across the road. And I have read that you need 150-foot space. And you can't fire fireworks within 150 feet of structure or vehicles. And I don't think that.
But you have a bunch of drunks shooting off fireworks in the parking lot. You know, it's like, what could go wrong?
I know.
Right.
And there's no control, and between, the saloon, the, liquor bonus place, and there were a couple other places.
Well, yeah,
You know, it's just a lot of noise.
yeah, there's more, there were more people that had celebrations, and I'm not sure if they were actually firing. I don't care if they have fireworks that are noiseless, more the noiseless type. But it's when, all this noise is going on, and it went on, well, they went on. Go ahead, please.
Well, I was just gonna say, this, it just keeps getting worse.
Yes, it's getting worse every year.
You know, and it's not just the 4th, it's New Year's. And now you have more Airbnbs and people come in, do their own thing. And it just seems like, and I don't think the noise or the fireworks ordinance has been updated since they legalized the purchase of fireworks.
Well, now they have the C-class, which is.
There,
Yeah, it's just something that should be taken a look at.
there is a resolution, it's, Alex just mentioned, and it's resolution 79-4. And it says that the resolve that the following regulation shall apply with respect to fireworks displayed within Smithfield Township. The sponsor of the event shall receive permission from the Board of Supervisors during normal working hours at least 14 days prior to the event, effective July 1st, 1979. It hasn't been revised since they started, since Pennsylvania changed selling fireworks. That's their laws. So that's something that we should query the supervisors about.
We're not a complaint bureau, so, if the noise ordinance is in effect, correct?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
well, also, it's just not the noise, it's for the safety of the animals too.
I understand a lot of concerns, but,
Yeah.
the supervisors, we just make recommendations to the
Right, yeah.
supervisors, we don't do anything.
Oh,
else.
we understand
There
that.
is a complaint form online
Yeah.
that you can fill online or download. And
Well, we just wanted to let you know, we know you're the environment,
because that affects, I understand, it affects noise pollution and
Heavy also, I mean, heavy metals and they're not great for the environment.
There's another question.
right.
I empathize, I hear the same fireworks too, so.
We have another question?
Well, it was a direct question to Alex, because Steve more like in the environmental wildlife board being commission stuff. If a person starts shooting towards a creek or like any body of water, doesn't the Wild Fish Game Commission fine you $10,000? We were told by our HOA that if any fireworks are found in the lake, those big ones, that the HOA will get a $10,000 fine. And that's why our bylaw says no fireworks in the community, but then people still do it.
I'll have to look into that. It's a good question. I don't have the answer off the top of my head, but I can
Alright,
get back to
thank
you on
you.
it. Action item for Alex.
Because you were saying the saloon is right by the creek, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And that was like not even 150 feet.
Yeah, I'd imagine it's on account.
So that's
of the
why
heavy
maybe Alex
metals.
looked into it.
There's quite a few chemicals and heavy metals and fireworks, and so they're not great for much.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like the home that's on the corner of Buttermilk Falls, that does the Airbnb.
Hmm.
People that passed by to go home that night, seeing the renters shooting fireworks into the creek, into the falls. Yeah,
That property is for sale now.
I know, so.
Well, I'm sure there's lots of people everywhere who shoot off fireworks illegally. That's a big problem up in Scranton that people complain about, so. It's all over the place. But, you know, maybe the tariffs will, you know, most of the fireworks were made in China. So the tariffs could kick in and.
There you go.
Make them, put them out of reach for people.
Well, you know, I want to throw out the idea, what about, well, my husband and I had this idea before, what about introducing quiet zone signs within the township? Well, I mean, to start kind of, introducing to people that, you know, keep the volume down. Put quiet zone signs around schools, hospitals, parks. I don't know, just that, well, it may sound funny, but trying to change the culture somewhat, just putting it out there, they'll see the sign, oh, it was supposed to be quiet here. You know, it just kind of like seeps into your consciousness, don't you agree?
We would hope, but,
Well,
yeah.
it's a nice idea, but I don't know if it'll
Well,
ever
that's
happen.
it, you know, unfortunately, we live in a society, people just do what they want with no consideration. But if you put a sign up, like a quiet, quiet, you know. Let's be, or something about the animals.
Or yeah,
You know.
respect the animals.
Respect the animals,
Wildlife
the
and
wildlife.
pets, you know, they don't seem to care about people
And-
at all, but.
People's pets, and, I'm sure, a lot of people, their dogs just go nuts when they hear these things.
Well, you know, there's signs all over about don't litter, and I see trash all over the roads around town. So, I mean, it's just not gonna happen.
Well,
Well,
that's a bad attitude.
yeah, but I think, no,
I'm just being more realistic. I'm sorry.
or change it, I mean, it takes years, I know. But it's
Look
like
at
smoking, look what happened with that, you know, I mean, it just.
No, I agree. I think that the Dark Skies Initiative was something that was, I really hope that we start to adopt and enforce and get all the light pollution out of the township and, yeah, dark skies, quiet nights, something like that. I mean, they all go hand in hand and I agree. As an environmental advisory council, we're here to educate and advise and, yeah, you're on the right path.
Well,
That's something that we can.
Exactly,
certainly talk
well,
about.
part of it is education.
Yeah.
Some of the public doesn't even realize that maybe the noise is annoying, for some reason, they don't even realize it.
I think it'd be a great topic for the EAC corner in the newsletter.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be
And-
good. And around the 4th of July on the website,
Right.
something about being respectful of your neighbors, of pets, of wildlife. Maybe even the stores that sell the fireworks, I don't know, they probably wouldn't be for this idea, but
Well,
they should give out information.
that
about
falls
being
under, noise control.
respectful.
The fireworks falls under, nuisance, noise nuisance.
I would file a complaint, go online, get the complaint form and get it into works, because that's really
Because
that's the procedure to follow.
there is an ordinance, subsection 10-203,
Impact on them.
says that the enforcement officers, noise control officers shall have the authority within their designated jurisdiction to investigate suspected violence of any section of this part pursue enforcement activities, and noise control is one of them.
Yeah, but I wonder, like on the 4th of July, what do you do about enforcement if you're hearing something and the noise ordinance is being broken or whatever?
Well,
That's what I said,
I can give you some answer to that. I've called the state police, and the police do not enforce ordinances, they only enforce laws. So, and on a holiday, the zoning officer is not gonna be doing anything,
Right.
so there's no point. You got,
But for our council, I mean, we can
Yeah.
certainly make a note and do our part to educate why not to next year.
Yeah,
And,
that would be great.
that's really about all that we can do.
It's a step in the right direction, so
Agreed.
thank you.
Right.
Eric, just to follow up, so the supervisors authorized the advertisement for the lighting ordinance, so that is now in the pipeline to formal adoption for dark skies, so. Just wanted to give you a heads up, so sometime over the next 12 months will be a hearing, and then once it's adopted, then.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Still have that one thing to do, right, with these signs?
Signage is next, yeah, so we have the data center ordinance, which will be sent out to everybody probably by the end of this week, and then it'll be on the, August, I believe, the 12th, the agenda for the planning commission.
Right.
So that's coming up, the signage, you finished that discussion, so that'll come after that, and then there's some other ordinances as well that we're working on, like the dirty fill ordinance, that's next in the pipeline once we're finished with the data center, so we're making some good progress here in the township.
Terrific.
I move to adjourn.
Second, all those in favor?